This is Chumley, and he's actually one of my favorite lizards. This is a uromastyx, and there are many different kinds of uromastyx. This one here is scientific name, they call him Egypticus, which just is a fancy way of saying he's from Egypt. And this is the largest of the uromastyx. This guy here is fairly young, probably a couple years old. I don't know, he was given to us. And they can grow 2.5 feet long, which is a pretty nice sized lizard. They get about 2.5 times as thick as he is here. You can see on this side, he's peeling his skin, and that's normal. These guys are always growing, and unlike their distant relatives, the snake, they don't shed in one piece, they just shed in little pieces like that. And we got this guy, you can see he's missing just the end of a toe right here, and that's normal. Sometimes, you know, things are born that way. Sometimes they might, you know, hatch out and their little brothers and sisters might bite their toes or things like that, or who knows. But if you find an animal in the wild, you never find a perfect animal. They're always scarred and beat up, and typically these captive-born animals look a lot healthier and look a lot nicer. He has this long spiny tail, and this here is a nice weapon. When he was younger and first given to us, he was very crabby, and he used to hit with the tail quite a bit, and he made my hand bleed probably a dozen times. Now, from my kids handling him and people just coming over to the center and hanging out with him and spending some time with him, he's mellowed out and he's pretty nice. But he's a herbivore, so he's out in the wild, he's in Egypt, he's hanging out, eating some plants, and they actually eat some cactus and things like that. And then a predator comes over to bother him, and he takes that tail and whacks him across the eyeballs, and that's enough to make pretty much any predator leave him alone. He has real dry skin here. My fresh kids call this Grammy skin, so sorry, Grammy. It could be worse. They could have said this was Grammy skin, right? And they have holes for ears. Their hearing is pretty similar to a human, but if they were made like us, then they would step on their ears, and that would just be plain embarrassing. So they have the holes for ears instead. And this is a nice animal. A lot of people have geckos and bearded dragons as pets, but a lot of people give them up because they get tired of buying crickets. Either the pet store's out of crickets, or the crickets are hopping around their house, and they just really don't want to have them anymore. These guys here are just herbivores, so you go to the grocery store and buy some romaine lettuce, some kale, sweet potato, some reptile vitamins, and this guy here could spend his whole life in a 40-gallon breeder or a 55-gallon tank, and that would be plenty big enough for him. So that's a nice little animal, and again, that's called a uromastyx.